Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. Yi Xinghan used all of his strength and had only managed to tiringly escape from the Song of the Flower Burial after being pressed down for exactly 12 hours. After venting his anger on the place, he still did not give up and chased after them with all his might. Then, just like Yunche, out of curiosity, he entered this ancient fortress which appeared out of nowhere. At this moment, he had basically given up hope on finding Feng Shui. He didn't expect that a large surprise would suddenly descend from the heavens just like that. However, currently, a stone door was completely blocking him from obtaining the prey which was supposedly right at his fingertips, even with an attack which he unleashed with his full strength that had even caused his own arm to be in severe pain. Forget about being destroyed, not even a single hint of a scar could be seen on the stone door in front of his eyes, nor was there a slight deviation in its position either. He struck the stone door with all his strength, yet what he received was a feeling as though he was an ant trying to shake a tree. Yi Xinghan became utterly agitated. This feeling as though a cooked duck had suddenly flown off had undoubtedly made him feel extremely unbearable. He stared at the stone door and walked back and forth. He tried to locate the opening mechanism, and his solemn voice carried a deep threat. Yunche, if you don't wish to die without a proper burial, open the door for me now. Yunche did not respond. He closed his eyes, regulated his breathing, and slowly stabilized the injuries in his body. Although he had prepared himself when he took Yi Xinghan's attack, the injuries he received were definitely not light. From his side, Feng Shui reached out her little snow-white hand, and carefully rubbed away the bloodstain from the corner of his lips. Her beautiful eyes were filled with pain. He had received such heavy injuries, yet he was able to make sure that not even the corner of her clothes were damaged, while she was powerless to defend herself. This alone was touching enough to last in her memory for a lifetime. Yi Xinghan circled around the vicinity for several times, yet he was unable to find anything that looked similar to a mechanism. He could only give up and stand in front of the stone door. After his expression quickly changed, his voice suddenly calmed down. Yunche, not only have you spoilt my great plans, you have even killed my two beloved women. Whatever you have done is enough for me to torture you to the point you would wish for death to come. Let's take a couple steps back. Even if you're capable of escaping today, and you manage to leave the primordial profound arc. HMPH. I will still unhesitantly move all the forces of Sun Moon Divine Hall to endlessly hunt you down. When that time comes, not only will there not be a single person who would have the guts to protect you, there will even be countless of people willing to kill you just to curry favors with my Sun Moon Divine Hall. Like a dog with a deceased owner, you will endlessly pray to see the light of day, until your corpse is shredded into countless pieces. Yunche knew very well in his heart that although Yi Xinghan's words were threats, they were facts as well. Incurring the hatred of Divine Phoenix Sect and incurring the hatred of Sun Moon Divine Hall were completely two different concepts. If you don't come out, you will be sealed to death in this primordial profound arc. Even if you manage to escape, only death awaits you as well. Yi Xinghan said solemnly. But right now, I can give you a chance. As long as you open this door, and hand me my little sister Shui, then everything that happened, including the matter about you killing my women, I can let them be bygones. Not only will I let you leave, and I'll even allow you to safely leave the primordial profound arc. From today onwards, I will not hunt you down, and I can even provide you with some benefits. In such desperate straits, these words undoubtedly carry huge temptation. Yunche closed his eyes. His demeanor was still the same, and he did not make a sound. Feng Shui looked at him worriedly, and said with a soft voice. Big brother Yun. Let's not care about him. Yunche held onto Feng Shui's shoulder, and said with a similarly soft voice. This young master is the young hall master of Sun Moon Divine Hall, so I keep my promises. This is your only chance to live, and also a big gift for you. You'd best not be an idiot, and destroy your own life and future? Yi Xinghan said with a solemn voice. However, in actual fact, he was especially anxious in his heart. Because, counting the time, there were only less than 2 hours before the primordial profound arc would close. When that time comes, Not only would he have to give up on feng shui, his greed and despicable acts could very possibly be exposed. In the future, it would be hard to obtain another opportunity. He had said a bunch of words, yet still he did not receive even a single response, and not even a single bit of voice could be heard from inside. Yi Xinghan's expression became even darker and stern. Yunche, since you're not coming out, could it be that you're thinking of dying in this primordial profound arc? HMPH, with a lowly life such as yours, it's fine for you to die, but you don't have the qualifications to drag feng shui to die alongside you. Her life is more precious than yours. If you really wish to protect her, then you'd best honestly hand her over to me. This is your only chance. With the harshest voice she could muster, feng shui said. Yi Xinghan, feng shui, am willing to die here with Big Brother Yun, than to land in your hands. Oh, my little sister Shui. Hearing feng shui's voice, Yi Xinghan's tone instantly underwent a huge change. Why do you want to reject your big brother Yi to such an extent? Although my methods are a little dishonorable, it's because I like you too much, and that I'm too anxious to obtain you. Go away. Feng Shui furiously shouted. I really, really hate you. Little sister Shui, you will learn to not hate me. Yi Xinghan said with a carefree voice. I, Yi Xinghan, am the young Hall Master of Sun Moon Divine Hall. Given less than 300 years, I will become the true Hall Master of Sun Moon Divine Hall, becoming the highest and most supreme figure in the entire profound sky continent. And only I am worthy of little sister Shui, and only little sister Shui is worthy of me. I can make a guarantee to little sister Shui right now, that after our marriage, I will use everything I have to protect you, and have you become the most respected, and the most perfect woman in this world. For you, I can even give up on all other women. I will never, never like you. My big brother Yun is 1,000 times, 10,000 times better than you. Feng Shui angrily said. Your big brother Yun? Yi Xinghan's eyes narrowed, and began to coldly laugh in disdain. You actually compare me to a lowly mortal? In my eyes, he's even less than an ant by the roadside. If I want to crush him, it's actually even much easier than crushing an ant. My little sister Shui, given how pure and smart you are, how can your heart be so easily blinded? Only by following me will you find where you perfectly belong. Even if you don't think for your own future, you should also think of the future of Divine Phoenix Sect. Could it be that you really wish for the future of Divine Phoenix Sect to be destroyed by your own selfish and mistaken decision? Yi Xinghan's final words had undoubtedly struck a huge blow in Feng Shui's heart. Yunche opened his eyes, gently grasped onto Feng Shui's slightly cold hand, and shook his head. Don't believe any words from a downright despicable person such as him. No matter what he says, we don't have to listen to him. Feng Shui lightly nodded. Yunche once again closed his eyes and healed his own injuries with all his strength. Before the primordial profound arc closes, Yi Xinghan would definitely leave this ancient fortress. When that time comes, that would be the only hope for him and Feng Shui to escape from this place. In order to completely secure his own life, Yi Xinghan would definitely not stay too close from the ancient fortress after leaving it either. Although it carried a very huge risk, as long as he were to plan out the time well, the chances of success definitely wouldn't be low. The more his injuries heal, the possibility of success would raise correspondingly as well. Yunche and Feng Shui were in the stone room, while Yi Xinghan was outside the stone room. The situation had instantly landed in a stalemate where neither parties could advance or retreat. Even after using all of his strength, Yi Xinghan was unable to break the stone door. Hence, he could only constantly use enticing, deluding, and threatening words. At the end, under extreme agitation, he had even broken out into curses. However, neither Yunche nor Feng Shui responded to him with another word. Rumble. The floor beneath their feet, the wall behind them, and even the entire space, had suddenly trembled slightly, as though an earthquake had happened. This trembling caused Yunche to focus his senses, and outside, Yi Xinghan's expression changed greatly. Feng Shui was suddenly conscious of something, and cried out. Big brother Yun, this is bad. I heard from my royal father, that when the space within the primordial profound arc begins to shake, it means that there's only less than half an hour left before the primordial profound arc closes. Half an hour, Yun-Che raised his eyes and stared at the stone door, his expression beginning to turn grim. Yi Xinghan's voice had clearly become anxious as well. Yun-Che. In half an hour, the primordial profound arc will close. If you don't come out now, the two of you will not be expelled by the primordial profound arc's force. The two of you will die inside, and even your corpses will disappear along with the primordial profound arc. Come out, and you too can live. Otherwise, both of you will die. It's best that you worry more about yourself. Yun-Che coldly said. You're still inside the ancient fortress yourself. Even if we're not forced out when the time comes, you will accompany us in our deathbeds as well. Accompany you in your deathbed? Those words are so terrible to hear. You clearly only have to obediently open the door. As long as you do this simple action, you can live on nicely, and my little sister Shuai will be able to live as well. Yet, you still wish to not come to your senses. It's fine to be stupid on your own, but you even wish to drag down my perfect little sister Shuai as well. This is the first time I have ever seen such a fool in my entire life. If I really believe in your words, then I will truly be an idiot. Yun-Che coldly laughed. Rumble. Space once again shook, and according to the past experience and records, the nearer to the primordial profound arc's close, the frequency of the shaking space would increase. At the very end, it would even continue to shake violently, similar to a space which was at the verge of collapse. Yi Xinghan's expression became even darker. He turned around to look out of the courtyard, hurriedly calculated the time he needed to escape the ancient fortress from his current position, and said while gnashing his teeth. Yun-Che. I shall give you one last chance. Either you open this door, or both of you will die together. Seconds flowed by, and with every passing second, it was as though the footsteps of the god of death were approaching closer. Yun-Che's expression was calm, however, his forehead was already filled with cold sweat. Because the final amount of time he would have would decide the life and death of both him and Feng Shui. If he were to head out now, he would die. If he was unable to leave before the primordial profound arc closes, he would similarly die. Another 15 minutes had passed, and the frequency of the shaking space had clearly increased as well. Yi Xinghan's expression had already turned even more anxious, as he constantly turned his head around, confirming time and time again the route and amount of time he needed to escape the ancient fortress. Then, he took a deep breath, and once again roared. Yun-Che, I shall give you one final chance. If you wish to live, open the door now. In the stone room, Yun-Che tightly furrowed his brows, tightly gritted his teeth, and did not say a single word. Feng Shui strongly grabbed onto Yun-Che's hand. Her expression was a field of confusion. Rumble. Space severely shook, causing Yi Xinghan's body to greatly shake for a moment. And right now, out of the total of 24 hours, they were only left with the final 15 minutes. At this moment, even if Yun-Che opened the door now, and handed Feng Shui to him, removing the time needed to escape, he basically wouldn't have the time to succeed either. His expression darkened, and his entire body trembled, as he said resentfully and hideously. Very good. Then I will fulfill your wishes. Since I'm unable to obtain her, then destroying the two of you personally isn't a terrible idea either. Yi Xinghan's words caused Yun-Che to suddenly realize what he was planning to do. He fiercely stood up and roared out. Stop! Before his words fell, Yi Xinghan's palm had already heavily struck onto the right of the stone door. The point of contact was exactly the small-scaled profound formation controlling the opening mechanism of the stone door. A violent force struck onto the profound formation. The profound formation momentarily shone, before it completely shattered, and the dispersed profound light gently dissipated in the air. With the profound formation destroyed, the stone door was completely locked tight as well. No matter was it from the outside or inside, it could no longer be opened. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Die here for me. Forever. The destroyed profound formation had severed Yun-Che's and Feng Shui's hope of escaping, and it had severed Yi Xinghan's hope of obtaining Feng Shui as well. Yi Xinghan let out a huge furious laugh, as he flew into the air with a face filled with hatred. With his fastest speed, he charged outwards. Very quickly, he descended down the stone stairs, and charged out of the exit of the ancient fortress. This bastard! What Yun Che was the most worried about had happened. With Yi Xinghan's abilities, he had expectedly seen through the profound formation. Yi Xinghan had already escaped with his fastest speed, yet Yun Che's heart had dropped. He rapidly rose, whipped out Dragon Fault and attacked the stone door with his full strength. Clang! The piercing sound of the strike could almost tear eardrums. The immense recoil caused both of Yun Che's arms to hurt immensely as the internal injuries which he had recuperated with much difficulty had completely ruptured. He staggered backwards, then fell heavily onto the ground. Big brother Yun. Feng Shui shifted her body and held onto Yun Che's shoulder. Are you alright? Are you hurt? Yun Che's gaze fell on the stone door where Dragon Fault had landed. Forget about a crack, there was not even a nick which the naked eye could see on that area. He took a deep breath and drooped his shoulders. Big brother Yun. Seeing Yun Che this way, and thinking of their situation, Feng Shui hugged him tightly. Big brother Yun. To her, these 3 words were all the emotional support she could give. I'm sorry Shui, in the end, we were still forced to such a point. Yun Che laughed bitterly as he said powerlessly. Feng Shui forcefully shook her head. No. I was the one who let Big Brother Yun down. It's all because of me. If not for Big Brother Yun protecting me, nothing would have happened at all. Tears from the Phoenix girl dripped, landing lightly on Yun Che's arm. He turned over, looked in Feng Shui's eyes, and said lightly after some time, Shui, are you afraid? Yun Che's face was completely pale, yet the look in his eyes was one that she was familiar with, one with warmth which caused her to unknowingly become infatuated. She shook her head slowly. If I was alone, I would be afraid, but with Big Brother Yun, I'm not afraid at all. But, I'm really afraid. Yun Che shut his eyes. I'm afraid that I won't be able to see my close ones and wives again, afraid that no one will protect them, afraid that I will not be able to complete the final wish that grandfather entrusted me. I'm afraid that I will not be able to see little fairy again within this lifetime, and our child. I'm afraid of many things. Yet now, right in front of me, what I'm most afraid of is that I will really see you lose your life here. Rumble. Rumble. The surroundings shuddered more and more violently, the booming not stopped for a long time. Dragon Fault had been tossed aside by Yun Che. His hands held onto Feng Shui's little hands, as he gazed upwards and said with disappointment, Shui, did you know that I've always been someone who cherished my own life and is even more so, an incomparably selfish person? I used to poison many people to death just to let myself live, so many to the point that you can't even imagine, and within those, there were many innocents. Feng Shui shook her head. I only know that Big Brother Yun is the nicest person in the world, and he's also the one who treats me the best. No matter who tells me that Big Brother Yun is a bad person, I will not believe it. Yun Che laughed out loud. Shui, your heart is just like a crystal. Even though I had cheated you in such a manner originally, not only did you not expose me, you instead taught me the world ode of the Phoenix on your own accord, and yesterday, you helped me with such perseverance. In front of you, I am ashamed and tainted by filth and the guilt of countless crimes. Your appearance was just as if a pearl had been inserted into my soul, one so precious that I don't even have the courage to touch it. Big Brother Yun. Feng Shui didn't understand why Yun Che was saying such strange things. Every word from him was praise and admiration, causing her heart to feel satisfied and warm, yet at the same time, there was a kind of unexplainable unease. That's why, no matter what, I will not watch helplessly as you die. At least for now, I would rather die. Big Brother Yun, I will forever remember your words today. Even if I die, and go to another world, I will never forget. Feng Shui murmured softly. Being trapped in such a situation and unable to escape, with another 15 minutes before the death god came knocking and facing imminent death, she ought to have felt fear along with a multitude of concerns, yet at that moment, her heart instead became extremely peaceful, without a trace of fear. She knew the reason. It was because of the person beside her. A trace of determination flashed in Yun Che's eyes. He reached out his palm as an imprint of a golden flame flashed between his eyebrows. He looked at Feng Shui and said, "Shui, close your eyes." Feng Shui closed her eyes like before. Yunche reached out with 2 fingers and lightly tapped on the area between Feng Shui's eyebrows. Instantly, the phoenix imprint flashed between Feng Shui's eyebrows, a golden imprint just like Yunche's. "Ah, this is..." Feng Shui opened her eyes and gasped in amazement. "These are the profound formulas of the world ode of the phoenix's 5th and 6th stage." Yunche said, "Quickly, engrave them into your memory." The 5th and 6th stages of the world ode of the phoenix was something that the divine phoenix sect had been yearning for the past 5,000 years, and now, somebody had finally attained it. Though the timing wasn't quite suitable, Feng Shui still obediently complied. Shutting her eyes, she calmed her mind, deeply engraving the profound imprints within her mind into her soul. After less than an eighth of an hour, Feng Shui opened her eyes. Yunche smiled slightly and said, "Shui really is indeed much more clever than I thought. If it's like this, Shui will be able to master them in just a few months' time." The surroundings began to rumble continuously. Moreover, the degree of rumbling became more and more intense, as if there was going to be a cave-in any moment. Yet Yunche had on a particularly peaceful expression. He noticed that Feng Shui's eyes were a little misty, and then said earnestly, "Shui, you must listen very carefully to my following words, all right?" "Amen." Feng Shui nodded. "I will listen as long as it's Big Brother Yun's words." Yunche laughed slightly and said, "The 4 great sacred grounds are evidently already aware of the passing of the Phoenix God. You revealing your strength at the ranking tournament yesterday also allowed them to confirm this point. In the near future, your divine Phoenix sect would most probably face unprecedented pressure and danger. I'm not certain how your royal father will handle this matter, and nobody knows what will happen in the future, but, Shui, after leaving this place, you have to properly cultivate this 6th stage of the world ode of the Phoenix, and attain an even greater strength to protect yourself. Apart from your royal father and grandfather, do not easily trust anyone else, including your royal brothers, because due to pressure and concern to improve their fate, there might be a chance that someone close to you may give in to the 4 great sacred grounds. No matter what, you have to give your life and safety the top priority, because to your royal father and the people of your sect, and to me, your life is more important than the entire divine Phoenix sect. If one day your sect really encounters a disaster which cannot be withstood, Shui, I hope that you will not risk your life in protecting your sect, and instead use all your might to flee, to allow yourself to live on. Shui, please promise me these." Shui opened her tender lips slightly, feeling somewhat lost, after leaving this place. "We still are able to leave this place?" "No matter, promise me that first." Yunche said firmly, "You said it yourself just now, that if it were my words, you would listen." "Amen." Feng Shui nodded lightly, then, "I promise." Yunche started laughing. He extended his pinky towards Feng Shui, "Then let's do it like the last time, pinky swear." Feng Shui extended her own delicate pinky and buckled together with Yunche's pinky. As they quietly gripped tighter and tighter while looking into each other's eyes, they both thought about the first time when they made a pinky swear at the same time and started to laugh lightly. Yunche said with a smile, "Since we have made a pinky swear, this means that Shui has promised me and can't go against it." Feng Shui agreed crisply, "I will definitely do what I've promised Big Brother Yun." "Big Brother Yun, you too can't renege the promise about bringing me to see snow." Yunche's eyes wavered slightly. He didn't answer immediately, but instead reached out to remove the transportation jade that Xie Yuanba had given him from his neck, then gently hung it around Feng Shui's neck. "This is..." Feng Shui held the jade in her hand and asked curiously. The jade was originally sparkling and transparent, yet under the glow of Feng Shui's snowy jade-like neck, it had lost its splendor. Yunche placed his palm onto Feng Shui's hands, then quietly grasped the stone. He looked at her beautiful complexion with reluctance, his voice like a gentle breeze. "What I've promised Shui, I will definitely do. After 3 years, I will bring Shui to see the endless snow in Blue Wind Nation's snow region of extreme ice. After 3 years, Shui, will you wait there for me?" Rumble. 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 The surroundings seemed to be boiling. Yunche and Feng Shui were being flung around under the intense rumbling. The primordial profound arc had finally reached the final countdown of its closing. Feng Shui stared at Yun Che in a daze, her heart becoming more and more misty with an unspeakable uneasiness. Wait for you. Big brother Yun, why do I need to wait for you? Reap. An astonishing crack appeared in the air, appearing not more than 3 feet behind Yun Che. Yun Che's expression remained as calm as ever, as if at this moment, there was nothing in this world which could impinge his state of mind. He lightly tightened his grip. With a light, ping sound, the transportation jade shattered, and a profound light instantly radiated as a delicate profound formation appeared on Feng Shui's body. The appearance of the profound formation along with its mysterious profound aura caused Feng Shui to suddenly have a premonition about something. Big brother Yun, you. Shui, wait for me. Those 4 words of Yun Che's were unhurried and peaceful, yet when they drifted into Feng Shui's ears, it was as though profound lightning had struck her, causing her mind to be thoroughly thrown into chaos, to the point that it was on the verge of collapse. She widened her eyes in fear, endless fear and heartache spread to every part of her body. She stretched out her palm, wanting to catch Yun Che, but realized that her body was already starting to blur, and that they were getting further and further, further and further. Big brother Yun, big brother Yun. No. Following her blood-curdling scream, all the sound and light seemed to become distant as Yun Che's silhouette became completely blurry in the endless space. Rumble. Crack. SSS. Boom. Space was completely thrown into disorder, the entire world seemed to be on the verge of destruction. Yun Che put down his arm, grabbed Dragonfolt and hugged it, closing his eyes. Boom! The entire space of the primordial profound arc seemed to instantly shatter. Countless cracks in space filled every corner of the profound arc, and countless bloody scars instantly exploded on Yun Che's body. His entire body instantly becoming a bloody mess, as though his entire body was shattered and minced by the space in that instant. At that moment, it was early morning in Divine Phoenix City. The heart of Divine Phoenix City suddenly seemed to become a lot brighter. People subconsciously looked upwards and realized that in the distant blue skies, the primordial profound arc which had stopped there for half a year, had disappeared without a trace. Ji Yu Kang, Feng Hongkong and the rest, had been expelled by the primordial profound arc at basically the same time. Then, they appeared on the ground directly beneath the primordial profound arc, which was exactly within Phoenix City. A crowd of elders and princes had long been waiting there, and when they saw the appearance of Feng Hongkong and the rest, they hurriedly went to greet them and ask of their well-being. The people of Divine Phoenix sect that went in together had appeared at the same time. Feng Hongkong swiftly swept his gaze around the vicinity, however, he realized that 2 people were missing. And they were even the 2 most important people. He said with a frown. Where's Feng Shui and Great Elder? Why aren't they out yet? Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang raised his head to glance at the primordial profound arc which had yet to disappear, and calmly said. My disciple has yet to appear either. Their positions in the primordial profound arc are different from ours, so there might be a deviation in the time they appear. Feng Hongkong slowly nodded, as he seemed to have agreed to this idea. Because Xie Yuanba, Feng Feiyan, and Feng Shui had all stayed back to freely roam around the initial areas, and did not join the investigation teams. Yi Xinghan and Ji Qianrou had appeared at the same time with Feng Hongkong and the rest as well. Yi Xinghan's expression was a little gloomy. Ji Qianrou's eyes swept past him and shifted away the next instant, while he carried a carefree expression, as though a huge matter that occurred did not concern him in the slightest. The moment he heard these words, Feng Shichen hurriedly stepped forward, and said, Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang, your esteemed disciple came out not even 4 hours after the primordial profound arc opened. He is currently in the Pellet Hall. What did you say? Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang's expression slightly changed, while Feng Hongkong's brows furrowed as well. Chenna, are you certain that you did not make a mistake? We had personally seen Xie Yuanba enter the profound arc, so how is it possible for him to exit halfway through? Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang, however, said with a stern expression. Did he suffer some form of serious injury? How are his wounds currently? Feng Shichen hurriedly said. He doesn't seem to have suffered any injuries, however, he's unconscious with no signs of waking up. And, from his entire body, the presence of profound energy cannot be sensed at all. It's as though he has been crippled. Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang's expression once again changed. No injuries, and no presence of profound energy from his entire body. Could it be? After having stayed depressed and silent the entire time, Yi Xinghan's eyebrows twitched, and in his heart, he instantly sensed that the situation was bad. Feng Feiyan had died, and it was impossible for Yun Che and Feng Shui to appear once again. The only person who knew of this entire incident was Ji Qianro. As long as he could keep Ji Qianro in check, no one would know of the matters that happened in the primordial profound arc. However, he completely did not expect that Xie Yuanba actually wasn't dead. The reason for his disappearance was actually because he had left the primordial profound arc prematurely. And he suddenly recalled that he seemed to have indeed heard not too long ago, Absolute Monarch Sanctuary had a transportation jade which could meddle with the primordial profound arc space. However, the quantity was extremely small, and it was incomparably precious. He never expected that Xie Yuanba actually possessed one. However, when he thought of his tyrannical emperor's profound veins, Yi Xinghan suddenly felt that it was a rather logical matter. Feng Hongkong pondered for a moment, and just as he was about to speak up, a profound light suddenly flashed in front of him. A small profound formation slowly appeared, and after seeing this profound formation, Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang revealed a suspicious look. Because this profound formation was clearly the unique transportation profound formation that was contained in the transportation jade. Within the profound formation, Feng Shui's figure appeared. Her appearance caused Yi Xinghan's expression to instantly change. The emotion he displayed was not fear, but astonishment carried with extreme joy. A familiar place, a familiar air, familiar people within her line of sight, and familiar sounds by her ear side. However, it was as though Feng Shui was unable to sense all of them at all. She quietly stood there, and looked at the blue sky with her head raised. She was clearly at home, yet it felt incomparably lonely. The primordial profound arc which was above the blue skies had completely disappeared at this moment as well. Feng Shui's eyes completely blurred at this instant. 2 clear streams of tears gently slid down her cheeks. In front of her, all she could see was Yun Che's blurred face at that very last moment. His voice, which was as gentle as the wind, resounded in her ears over and over again. Shui! Wait for me. Big brother Yun. Big brother Yun. With a soft sob, every word was filled with sadness that was seemingly about to tear everyone's heart apart. She closed her eyes, and like an elf that had lost its soul, she directly fell backwards. Shui! When Feng Shui appeared, Feng Hongkong heavily sighed in relief, and shouted for her twice. However, he did not receive any response from Feng Shui. Just as he was thinking that it was strange, he saw that she was actually falling straight down towards the ground. He was instantly thrown into a shock, and hurriedly charged over to hold her. The moment he touched her body, his expression changed instantly. This is the Phoenix Ceiling Imprisonment Formation. What? The moment they heard these 4 words, every member of Divine Phoenix sect was shocked. They gathered around one after another, and sensed the blurry aura on Feng Shui's body. Every one of their faces instantly paled. How could this be? Feng Shiming gritted his teeth. The Phoenix Ceiling Imprisonment Formation is used on our sect's disciples who have committed heinous crimes. How could it appear on Shui? And with Shui's strength, only a few people in the entire sect is capable of casting the Phoenix Ceiling Imprisonment Formation on her. When he spoke of this, he suddenly thought of something, and his face was instantly filled with fear. Only the people of our sect are able to cast the Phoenix Ceiling Imprisonment Formation. Great Elder was the only person with Shui. But why would Great Elder? Feng Hongkong swiftly swept his gaze around the vicinity, and realized that Feng Feiyan had still not exited. His expression was frighteningly dark. Because ever since Feng Shui was young, forget about being harmed by anyone, she had never even been loudly lectured upon. Yet, currently, someone actually cast the Phoenix Ceiling Imprisonment Formation on her. His expression had turned ashen, and was already furious to the point where he was basically unable to say a word. Taking a deep breath, flames began to burn on both of his hands, as he unhesitantly inserted the source of his flaming energy into Feng Shui's body. Not long later, the phoenix sealing imprisonment formation in Feng Shui's body disintegrated soundlessly. Feng Shui, who had fainted, slowly woke up at this moment as well. Shui! Feng Hongkong retracted his phoenix flames and held Feng Shui up. Forcefully suppressing his rage, he said anxiously, "What happened to you in the primordial profound arc? Who injured you?" Although Feng Shui had opened her eyes, her expression was still pale. Her pair of beautiful eyes were dull, and even though Feng Hongkong had repeatedly called out to her, she was completely unresponsive, as though her soul had gone missing. Until her line of sight suddenly made contact with Yi Xinghan's figure. "It's you. It's you who killed Big Brother Yun. It's you who killed Big Brother Yun." The voice that Feng Shui let out was seemingly heartbreaking. Her gaze was actually filled with hatred and killing intent, which Feng Hongkong was incomparably foreign to. As the father of Feng Shui, in his entire life, this was still the first time he had sensed hatred and killing intent emitting from her body. And when Yi Xinghan was the person she was pointing to, his heart fiercely stirred as well. He hurriedly held onto Feng Shui's shoulder, and said with a solemn voice, "Shui, calm down. Tell your royal father just what actually happened." Ji Yukeng swept his gaze at the surroundings, yet he was unable to see Yun Chei's figure. Xie Yuanbei's abnormal state and Feng Shui's emotional outburst had allowed him to faintly guess what had gone on. He glanced at Yi Xinghan indifferently, and said with a calm voice, "Princess Snow, calm your emotions." Although these few words from spiritual master Ji Yukeng were simple and plain, they carried peerless profound energy within them, as they brushed across Feng Shui's soul like a light breeze, allowing her emotions to slowly return to normal. She no longer lost control of her emotions, however, her soul was still in pain, preventing her from breathing. She bit her lips, and a strand of fresh blood slowly fell from her lips, flowing straight onto her creamy snow-white neck. She had escaped from desperate straits. She had left the primordial profound arc. She had returned to the sides of her loved ones. She had escaped from all dangers. However, everything was in exchange for Yun Chei's life. Clearly, he could have safely escaped danger on his own. He could have done it right from the beginning. Yet, he desperately fled while bringing her along. For her sake, he completely offended Yi Xinghan without the slightest hesitation, and in the end, he even exchanged his own life for hers. Big Brother Yun. Big Brother Yun. The tears on her cheeks were slowly dried by the wind, yet the tears in her heart had accumulated into an ocean. For the very first time, she realized that this was actually how sadness truly felt, and how painful and torturous sadness was. Closing her eyes, the corner of her eyelids filled with tears. Though her voice was calm, every single word was filled with sorrow. Great Elder has betrayed us. He had long pledged loyalty to Sun Moon Divine Hall. Yi Xinghan wanted to possess me. Great Elder appeared, however, he suddenly made a move against me, and struck the phoenix sealing imprisonment formation on me. Big Brother Yun and bulky Big Brother were the ones who saved me. Big Brother Yun carried me and fled to an ancient fortress. Yi Xinghan wanted to force Big Brother Yun and me to death, so Big Brother Yun handed me something that could escape from the place. Big Brother Yun. Feng Shui's description was in bits and pieces, and her voice constantly fluctuated, however, they still clearly understood what had happened. After speaking her last few words, in front of Feng Shui's eyes, the image of Yun Chei's figure instantly heading far, far away had once again surfaced. Her soul felt as though it was pierced by 10,000 arrows, and her eyes instantly blurred. She then fainted once more. Shui. Feng Hongkong held Feng Shui up, and his entire body was already trembling with fury and hatred. When he sensed the phoenix sealing imprisonment formation in Feng Shui's body, he had already thought of Feng Feiyan. Because Feng Feiyan was the only person who did not head into the inner areas of the profound arc, who was tasked to protect Feng Shui from the shadows. He didn't expect that this terrifying guess had actually turned into reality, and it was countless times more terrifying than he had thought it was. The elder brother whom had grown up with him, whom he had respected, trusted, and even relied upon the most among his age group, had actually all the signs which showed that the four great sacred grounds seemed to have found out the news of the divine phoenix's passing was actually not his imagination. It was actually Feng Feiyan who had informed Sun Moon Divine Hall of this matter. He had completely betrayed the divine phoenix sect. If he was barely able to accept the fact that Feng Feiyan had betrayed them, then the fact that Feng Shui had almost fell into dangerous hands, and had even almost lost her life in the primordial profound arc forever, had already completely touched the reverse scale that definitely shouldn't have been touched. It had completely crossed his final line. The endless rage had caused Feng Hongkong's chest to look as though it was about to explode. He looked at Yi Xinghan angrily, and his voice carried a slight tremble. Yi Xinghan, you had best give us an explanation. All of the gazes from those of the divine phoenix sect gathered onto Yi Xinghan. Every single one of their gazes were filled with deep anger and hatred. If not for Yi Xinghan's identity as the young Hall Master of Sun Moon Divine Hall, they would have already pounced at him one after another and tear him into shreds on sight. Not only was Feng Shui's Feng Hongkong's reverse scale, she was even more so, the reverse scale of the entire divine phoenix sect. Although spiritual master's expression looked rather calm, rage was already faintly being carried in his eyes. Ji Qinro turned aside, and was leisurely enjoying the view of the phoenix flowers not far away. Ling Kuan's eyes were shifting from divine phoenix sect and Yi Xinghan back and forth, and his brows had begun to furrow deeply as well. Facing Feng Hongkong, who could explode with flaming rage at any moment, Yi Xinghan, however, did not look even the least bit anxious. His eyes narrowed into long slits, as he slowly said casually, "Phoenix sect master, please calm your anger. Although this young master's methods have indeed been excessive, it's simply because I love little sister Shui too much, which led to this moment of impulse. Phoenix sect master has been young once, so I believe you will definitely understand." Understand? Feng Hongkong laughed out loud furiously, and his eyes had already turned crimson red. Two balls of phoenix flames intensely swayed in his pupils. Clearly, he had already entered a state of extreme rage. Then if we want to kill you, I believe your Sun Moon Divine Hall will definitely understand as well. Kill me? Ha 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 ha. Yi Xinghan laughed out loud without a hint of fear on his expression. Instead, his face was filled with disdain and ridicule. All right. Then Phoenix Sect Master, why don't you try it out? TSK, I wonder just how long Divine Phoenix Sect is able to survive under the wrathful flames of our Sun Moon Divine Hall without the existence of the Divine Phoenix. Is it a year, and a month? Feng Hongkong's and Feng Shiming's expressions instantly changed. Shut up. A Phoenix Elder said sharply. Clearly, you were the one who first dealt your deadly hands on Princess Snow, yet you actually desecrate our Lord Phoenix God with your words. Our Lord Phoenix God is the only divine spirit in the profound sky continent and possesses an endless lifespan. It has protected our divine Phoenix clan throughout every generation, and will exist forever. Do you really think our divine Phoenix sect is really afraid of your Sun Moon Divine Hall? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Yi Xinghan once again burst out into an incomparably ear-piercing crazed laughter. You people from the divine Phoenix sect sure are a sorry bunch, being completely fooled by your sect master and all. Your Phoenix God is already dead for several years. Yet, you people actually don't know about this, and still bring up your ancestor which had already died a long time ago. My front teeth is about to fall from all this laughter, ha 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 ha. If you don't believe me, you can try asking your sect master. You're basically speaking utter nonsense, a pack of rubbish. The crowd of Phoenix elders were all trembling from the anger, however, Yi Xinghan's arrogant demeanor and relaxed tone were unable to cast away the doubts in their hearts. And, when their eyes turned towards Feng Hongkong, they realized that his expression was ashen, yet, he still did not refute a single word, causing their hearts to tremble even more. Could it be? The Lord Phoenix God has really. The news of your Phoenix God's death was personally told to me by your own great elder Feng Feiyan. Yi Xinghan said sinisterly. The people of our four great sacred grounds had received this piece of news since 2 years ago, It's laughable that the people of your own sect are unaware of it, and are still living in a sorrowful false image. Why don't all of you think about this carefully? If your so-called Phoenix God isn't dead, then why did your great elder want to defect to our Sun-Moon Divine Hall? When your Phoenix God isn't dead, we will still give a certain degree of respect. In regards to a divine Phoenix sect without its Phoenix God, Yi Xinghan curled his lips. It's time for the word divine to be removed. Forget about resisting against our Sun-Moon Divine Hall. You people basically hold no qualifications for us to even look at you. In a situation such as this, seeing that I have my eyes on your Princess Snow, it's considered a blessing to your entire sect. Not only are you people not showing your appreciation, you actually want to kill me. Phoenix Sect Master, why don't you actually try killing me then? Yi Xinghan's speech was like a poisonous blade, which ruthlessly pierced into every single Divine Phoenix Sect member's soul, causing deep fear to reveal on their faces. With trembling voices, they looked towards Feng Hongkong. Sect Master, is what he said true? Has the Lord Phoenix God already? The Divine Phoenix was the ancestor of Divine Phoenix Sect, and was even more so, the backing, faith, and pillar of spiritual support of the entire sect. If this pillar were to collapse, a large half of Divine Phoenix Sect would collapse as well. Not only would their deterrent power steeply fall, the hearts of the entire sect would be in a huge mess as well. However, at this moment, this matter could no longer be concealed. Feng Hongkong raised his head. After a deep sigh, he said, in regards to the matters of the Lord Phoenix Sect, which lowly junior dares to slander about this god's death? A mighty and calm voice which faintly carried a hint of anger, suddenly sounded from the distant blue skies. It was clearly sent into every one of their ears, and then, carrying a penetrative force which could not be resisted against, it resounded in their souls, blood, and bones, through every single corner of their bodies. This voice shook all of the bodies of the people present. At the same time, a boundless, heaven-toppling aura descended, as though it had enveloped the entire sky and earth. Under this majestic aura, the bodies of everyone stiffened and their hearts tightened. Even someone as strong as Ji Yu Kang was feeling as though he was as small as a grain of sand at the base of a mountain. Feng Hongkong raised his head. After a moment of shock, his body shivered from the excitement. This voice and strength is... At this moment, two long and narrow golden streaks of light suddenly appeared in the distant blue skies. Soon after, like a pair of slightly closed eyes, these two long golden streaks of light slowly opened. Two incomparably huge golden eyes, which looked as though they were embedded onto the sky, opened. Phoenix eyes. Lord Phoenix God. Even Prince and Elder class people within Divine Phoenix Sect would rarely hear its voice or see its true appearance. There were even some who had never seen it in their entire lives. This was precisely the moment in which everyone all thought that their Phoenix God had passed away, when their hearts were stricken with terror. Yet when the Phoenix God suddenly appeared in the most straightforward of manner and thoroughly destroyed the rumors, many Phoenix elders were pleasantly surprised and moved to the point where they kneeled onto the ground, worshipping with their faces looking up at the sky. The Divine Phoenix's might enveloped the entire Divine Phoenix City, and from every corner of Divine Phoenix City, its enormous pair of golden eyes could be seen in the blue skies above. In an instant, all Phoenix disciples fell to their knees and looked upwards, their bodies trembling all over in excitement. A large majority of profound practitioners in Divine Phoenix City also involuntarily kneeled. Under the pressure of the Phoenix Spirit's might, they all felt as though their blood had almost solidified. As for Feng Hongkong, his shock was far greater. Because he was one of the few who knew that the Divine Phoenix had passed away, and had personally seen the Divine Phoenix fade away. Seeing those enormous golden pupils in the air caused him to take a long time to recover back from his shock. He simply couldn't believe his eyes. He finally regained his senses after a long while and slowly kneeled. Absolute Monarch Sanctuary's Ji Yu Kang greets Venerable Phoenix God. Ji Yu Kang bowed, and executed a junior's courtesy of respect. Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang had long since passed the age of 1,000, but in front of the Divine Phoenix, he indeed could only be regarded as a junior. Ling Kuan and Ji Qianro also respectfully saluted. In front of the divine phoenix, forget about them, even if it were Saint Emperor, Sovereign of the Seas, Heavenly Monarch and Sword Master level characters, they would also not dare be rash. Because in the profound sky continent, the divine phoenix was the only one who had stepped into the legendary divine profound realm, the genuine supreme highest myth-like existence. Impossible, this is impossible. Yi Xinghan's eyes widened as he looked at the golden pupils in the sky with incredibility. This divine phoenix is obviously already dead. These golden-colored eyes could be an illusion, and even the voice could be faked, but the power coming from the divine phoenix absolutely could not be faked. Because this aura of strength was even more terrifying than Yi Meixie, his father, the heavenly monarch's aura, it was the might of a god that absolutely couldn't be imitated by anyone. The divine phoenix's voice came from above the blue sky. Each word all shook everyone's soul. This god had only napped for a few years, yet someone actually dares to be this impudent to my divine phoenix sect. And even dares to heavily injure my personal succeeding disciple. How audacious! The personal succeeding disciple mentioned by the divine phoenix was naturally Feng Shui. The divine phoenix's rage pressed down from above, keeping everyone quiet out of fear. The enormous golden pupils suddenly flickered at this time as a scarlet-red phoenix fire ring instantly descended from the sky, encircling Yi Xinghan. The phoenix fire ring immediately combusted violently, firmly locking Yi Xinghan within. These were phoenix flames that came from the divine phoenix. Its frightfulness and temperature caused those few from the sacred grounds to turn pale with horror. Ji Yukang, Ling Kuan, and Ji Qianro all retreated at the same time, covering more than 100 meters of distance. As for the Yi Xinghan, who was surrounded by phoenix flames, though he had not been touched, it was still as though he had fallen into a lava hell as the clothes on his body instantly ignited. Deep terror was revealed on Yi Xinghan's face. He had no doubt that once those phoenix flames approached, he would turn into ashes in a mere breaths. In this world, those who were brave enough to kill him were but a few. However, the divine phoenix was definitely one amongst them. It was someone that could even kill his father. And because of his behavior and ravings earlier, wanting to kill him was normal. In the face of the threat of death, Yi Xinghan finally began to fear. He pressed the ignited phoenix flames on his body down in a fluster and tried to exude calm. Venerable Phoenix God, please calm your anger. This junior definitely did not have the intention to offend Venerable Phoenix God. My father, Yi Meixie, had also always warned this junior to never be disrespectful to Venerable Phoenix God. This junior had only heard rumors within the wind and thought that Venerable Phoenix God had already departed this world, which was why this junior had impulsively acted unwisely. This junior wishes that Venerable Phoenix God would be merciful and spare junior this time. This junior will certainly be deeply grateful and never do this again. In order to protect his life, Yi Xinghan had no choice but to say the words, Yi Meixie. Ling Kuan's complexion unceasingly fluctuated, but nevertheless still came forth and said sincerely, Venerable Phoenix God, please calm your anger. After all, young Hall Master Yi is still young. Even though his actions today were despicable, the young are always impulsive, and it isn't that unpardonable. Moreover, Princess Snow is still perfectly fine, so there hasn't been any grave consequences. Sun Moon Divine Hall and Divine Phoenix Sect had always minded their own business, but if Sun Moon Divine Hall's young Hall Master were truly to be buried here, I'm afraid. I hope Venerable Phoenix God can reconsider. Whoosh! Just as Ling Kuan's words fell, the phoenix flames encircling Yi Xinghan suddenly rose, pouncing onto Yi Xinghan's body. Before anyone had time to turn pale with fright, the phoenix flames had already died out. Yet the force of impact had not weakened as it knocked Yi Xinghan flying. Yi Xinghan rolled on the ground as he spat out 4 huge mouthfuls of blood. His face was as white as paper, and he laid on the floor, paralyzed for a long time. The Divine Phoenix's sharp cold voice came from overhead, HMPH. Yi Meixie has visited this god 2 times within this millennium, so we can be considered to be in friendly terms. On behalf of Yi Meixie and Sun Moon Divine Hall, this god will spare your life this one time. Get out of Phoenix City immediately, and never enter ever again. If you dare to take even half a step into Phoenix City, this god will personally exterminate you. Why haven't you scrammed yet? Every one of the Divine Phoenix's words were filled with an incredibly heavy imposingness and deterrence. Yi Xinghan crawled up with a hand covering his chest and turned around to leave in an incomparably miserable manner. He didn't even dare to reveal his resentment. The reason why he had personally come to Divine Phoenix Empire was for Feng Shui. He was originally filled with complete confidence and thought that everything was within the palms of his hands, but in the end, he had actually ended worse off when trying to gain an advantage. He had not obtained Feng Shui. Yu Ji, Mai Ji, and his important tool Feng Feiyan had all died within the primordial profound arc. He had first been made fun of by Ji Qianro, then struck injured by the Divine Phoenix, and he also heavily offended Ji Yu Kang. Then, he had been transformed into an incomparably wretched state in front of the entire Divine Phoenix sect. He had lost all his dignity. In the end, he had even found out that even the news of the Divine Phoenix being dead was also false. As the stately young Hall Master of Sun Moon Divine Hall, under the suppression of the Divine Phoenix, he left like a stray dog while carrying heavy injuries. Not one member of Divine Phoenix sect was not overwhelmed with excitement. As for Ji Yu Kang, Ji Qianro, and Ling Kuan, their expressions had become extremely complex. They had actually been 90% sure of the news that the Divine Phoenix had died, with only 10% of doubt. It was only today, however, did they find out that it was only a rumor. Or perhaps it had all along been a deliberate facade constructed by the Divine Phoenix. At this time, all three of their bodies stiffened. It was as though an incomparably heavy mountain was suppressing them. Whether their body or aura, none could move a single step. Because the Divine Phoenix's attention had now focused on their bodies. Did you three sacred grounds also believe that this god had already died? Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang sighed, and answered in a voice that could be considered to be rather calm, I am ashamed. My absolute monarch sanctuary had indeed heard such rumors and mostly believed it. Only today did I find out that Venerable Phoenix God is well. This Ji Yu is now greatly reassured. I believe that Lord Saint Emperor will also be greatly comforted upon hearing this news. This god is a divine spirit of the Phoenix and is one with the world. As long as the world has not perished, this god will never disappear. Even if this entire profound sky continent is destroyed, this god still won't die. You three are guests from afar, so whether or not you wish to leave is up to you, but my Divine Phoenix sect's dignity is not allowed to be struck. Wouldn't dare, wouldn't dare. Ling Kuan promptly said while bowing. The suppression he felt from the Divine Phoenix far surpassed Sword Master Shen Yuan Wentian. Hankong, bring Shui to this god's place. Once the Divine Phoenix finished speaking, those two golden eyes slowly closed before disappearing from the skies above. Well met, Lord Phoenix God. Loudly chorused the many Phoenix disciples, but they still were on their knees and didn't get up for a long time. Minga, deal with the aftermaths for me. Feng Hankong simply threw down a command before swiftly flying toward the Phoenix God Great Hall with the still unconscious Feng Shui. Once the Divine Phoenix left, that omnipresent feeling of suppression had subsequently disappeared. Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang let out a small breath of relief, and said toward Feng Shichen, 14th Prince, may I trouble you to bring this Ji Yu to his inferior disciple. Spiritual Master Ji Yu Kang actively taking the initiative to talk to him terrified Feng Shichen, and he promptly replied, yes, Senior Ji Yu, please come this way. The appearance of the Phoenix spirit shocked the entire Divine Phoenix city. Very quickly, this sensation quickly spread throughout the entire Divine Phoenix Empire. Within Divine Phoenix City, discussions of the appearance of the Phoenix spirit lasted throughout the entire day. Its degree of enthusiasm had even suppressed the 7-nation ranking tournament and the primordial profound arc. At present, the 4 great sacred grounds ought to also have received news that the Phoenix spirit had never passed away. At the same time in which the spirits of Divine Phoenix Nation's citizens were raised up high, a certain news had drenched every citizen of Blue Wind Nation inside Divine Phoenix City with cold water, and coldly pierced their souls. The Yunche who had defeated 10 of Divine Phoenix Sect's prodigious disciples alone, who had acquired an unprecedented first place for Blue Wind Nation in the 7-nation ranking tournament, was eternally dead within the primordial profound arc during his rescue of Princess Snow. When Ling Jie, who had run back from outside Phoenix City in high spirits to return to Blue Wind Nation together with Yunche, received this news, he stood there, stupefied on the spot as though he had been struck by lightning. He stood motionless for a very long time, as if he had become a soulless statue. Time quickly moved from early morning to afternoon. The continuously noisy Divine Phoenix City had also finally quietened down. Feng Shiming hastily rushed in the Emperor's bedchambers of Divine Phoenix Empire and impatiently asked, "Royal Father, has Shuai awakened yet? And it seems like Lord Phoenix God actually has not died yet. Could it be a deliberate facade of dying made by Lord Phoenix God to see the four great sacred grounds' reactions, while also trying to tempt out those disloyal within the sect?" No, Feng Hongkong's voice was incomparably calm. He turned around with an desolate face. Lord Phoenix God had died 3 years ago. It was not a facade. Everything today was the facade. What? Feng Shiming instantly held his breath. The Lord Phoenix God that appeared today was only an illusion of a god left behind by Lord Phoenix God with the last of its strength before its death. It was a precaution in case its death was revealed, in order to prevent disaster from coming to Divine Phoenix sect. The final force left behind by Lord Phoenix God has now completely disappeared. It telling us to Phoenix God Great Hall was to use the last of its spirit voice to tell us this. Feng Hongkong said solemnly. Feng Shiming's expression was lifeless. Silent for a long time, it wasn't until quite a while did he finally speak while sighing. Lord Phoenix God is far-sighted and wise, to have already anticipated everything to this day. At the moment, the entire world, including the four great sacred grounds, are all certain that the Divine Phoenix still exists. With Lord Phoenix God's deterrence, the four sacred grounds definitely would not dare to rush at our Divine Phoenix sect again. Paper would never be able to cover fire. Even though we are quite stable now, the death of the Divine Phoenix is fact. This will inevitably leak out someday. Feng Hongkong tightened his brows as his expression became more and more resolute. Minga, you have also seen it today. If not for the Divine Phoenix's existence, see how the four sacred grounds hold our Divine Phoenix sect in contempt. Now that we don't have the Divine Phoenix, and since Shuai is only 16, before Shuai fully matures, the only ones we can rely on are ourselves. We must grow stronger faster, in the shortest time possible. Royal Father is saying. Feng Hongkong narrowed his eyes as he said faintly, "We have to obtain Blue Wind Nation's huge hidden purple crystal mine. Spirit Earth Hall scouted information has said that hidden within it are a great amount of purple vein divine crystals. If that is true, then it will greatly assist our sect. Starting tomorrow, ready the entire army. After 3 months, march into Blue Wind Nation. Within 3 years, be sure to capture all of Blue Wind's territories at full strength." Episode 79 is end here. Next episode coming tomorrow. Thanks for watching.